Cam Akers has been traded to the Minnesota Vikings. It will include a 2026 pick swap, and in this trade, it will reunite Cam Akers with Kevin O'Connell, who obviously used to be the coordinator out there with the Rams. Okay, this is interesting news here because Cam Akers starts off the season 22 carries for 28 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Rough opening game. And let's actually back this up a little bit. Cam Akers was a guy that was very promising. I had very high hopes for. I thought he was going to be great. The Achilles injury occurs. He comes back very early and doesn't look too swell when he returns in that playoff series and the couple playoff games and whatnot when he returned a couple years ago. Then we head into last season, and the whole drama and dilemma unfolds there, where he becomes the go-to guy. Things aren't playing so well. He goes on a little bit of a break. He leaves the team. They're rumored to trade him. Then they're rumored to cut him. And then he comes back and starts playing a role and starts playing good again. And then we head into this offseason, and we're wondering, okay, well, this Rams team, who knows what's going to happen? We have all kinds of questions. And Cam Akers looks like RB1. So, okay, he comes out, and he leads the pack heading out of the gate for the Rams in week 1. As I mentioned, he gets 22 carries, leads the team in snaps and carries. Well, it was a very poor outing, to say the least, in that week 1 game. And Kyren Williams really breaks out, and then we see Cam Akers does not even play in week 2. And so we hear rumors, okay, he's probably going to get moved. Well, when I first heard this, I said, okay, right, we've heard this a few times now. Cam Akers is going to get moved. Okay, let's wait till it actually happens. Well, guess what? That has now officially happened. Cam Akers is officially on the move. He no longer is an LA Ram. He is now a member of the Minnesota Vikings. Well, what does this mean? I'm not quite sure 100%. It's not a massive blockbuster of a trade, but it is significant. The Minnesota Vikings has the least amount of rushing yards, if I'm not mistaken. A tweet that just came out recently from Adam Schefter, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, mentioned that the Minnesota Vikings have the least amount of rushing yards in the first 2 weeks of the season since 2 teams, I think it was the Miami Dolphins and someone else, in the 2019 NFL season. Okay. Yeah, it's not been pretty. We all thought that Dalvin Cook was just a guy that you could just replace with ease, and Alexander Mattison would step right in and look great. It hasn't looked too swell out there either. Now, the offense has been moving. Don't get that mistaken. Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, Jordan Addison's been balling. That crew looks good, but that run game looks awful. And so you had Cam Akers in there. This is not a Jonathan Taylor per se, but could this be an intriguing move? Could this potentially be something that can get this run game going? Could it potentially be a new move, a new change of scenery for Cam Akers to establish himself as a member of the Minnesota Vikings, to establish himself and become a guy that is a reliable option? Get back to the coordinator that helped him look promising few years, 2, 3, 4 years ago with Kevin O'Connell. Can this be the move? Because listen, the offense is going to be there. You know, the receivers and the passing game looks great. We need running game. And you could possibly do a split share now between Alexander Mattison and Cam Akers, and that could get interesting. So we'll see when it's unfolding there. But I think it is a win-win. The Rams clearly are able to move on now. You have Kyren Williams. He looks great, at least more than capable than Cam Akers does in that system. And so you kind of move on. You don't really need Cam Akers anymore. You got it kind of figured out. But the Minnesota Vikings, you don't have any run game figured out. Might as well take a shot at Cam Akers. I'm not sure the exact pick. I have to assume it's a 7th round pick swap in 2026. Really has a low risk, high reward situation, I should say. I'm not sure. I'm not going to come out here and say Cam Akers is going to lead the NFL in rushing yards. Cam Akers is going to be a dominant threat. He's going to replace Dalvin Cook by himself. I'm not going to say that. Does he have potential? Have we seen potential outbursts from him throughout his career, different flashes, different points where it says, okay, Cam Akers could be legit? Sure. But I'm not going to sit up here and say that I think he's going to come in and ball out with the Minnesota Vikings right away. So we'll see when it's unfolding, but I think that does help the offense with the Minnesota Vikings for sure.